Hello everyone, this is Mr. Rodriguez, and this is the first notes of the year talking about earth science and topography. Um, what we see here is we see the first notes on earth science, and I just want to give you a little bit of background of information about earth science. Earth science is basically the science of studying the earth's structure and how the earth actually goes through its changes, and what we know about the earth so far, understanding processes that actually go into shaping earth's surface. So we look at interactions between, let's say, land with other land regions. We look at interactions between water and land. We look at interactions between air and land. All these different things go into forming different things about the land, and this is what earth science looks at. It also gives you an introduction to astronomy and other things of that nature as well, but this is what we're going to be looking at, how things interact with one another and how it goes into shaping Earth's surface and things of that nature. When we first begin our study of earth science, we begin in the area of geology, and geology is the study of the earth and all the rock formations and the rock structures that are found on earth's surface. We start with understanding the different shapes that the earth has. So we look at maps, we look at something that's called topography of the earth. And topography of the earth is basically a look at the shape of the land. An area's topography may be flat, sloping, hilly, or mountainous. If you look at any map, you can actually see that, and we're going to look at a map pretty soon that actually shows that. The topography of an area is determined by the area's elevation, relief, and landforms. Now, elevation, as we can see here on the notes here, elevation is the distance between a high point on Earth's surface and sea level. So that's the location of water. So elevation 0 would be the actual location of where the water would form. And elevation is how high land is above sea level. And that's what elevation is. The next slide here tells us the definition of what relief is. And the definition of relief is the difference in elevation between the highest and the lowest parts of an area. Now, relief is very helpful in determining the slope of the land. For example, relief can be very high. That means that the elevation is, I'm sorry, not the elevation, that means that the land changes from low to high very quickly. We can have very low relief. Low relief would be a very gentle slope, or a very gentle increase in height of a land. So if we look at, let's say for example, we look at hills. Hills is very gentle in the way that it actually changes in elevation. Where a mountain, for example, a mountain would change very rapidly and not be gradual at all. Another word that we can use for relief is slope. So slope and relief are usually used interchangeably. So we get an understanding of what the relief of the land is by looking at the slope of the land. If it's gentle and if it's very gentle, it would be ideal for bicycle trips. If it's very high, it would be ideal for, let's say, mountain climbing. So, and that is relief. Relief becomes more evident when we look at contour maps and contour intervals. Now, landforms, when we look at landforms, there are 3 types of landforms. So let me just show you the 3 types of landforms. The 3 types of landforms that we have are plains, mountains, and plateaus. And we can see by plains are very flat. So this is a picture of plains, and you can see that it's very flat or very gentle in the changes of relief. When we look at mountains, for example, mountains are very high, and they actually have very quick rises in their land slope. And some of these mountains, they come with polar ice caps along the top. This has to do with a variation in pressure, and we can see here in this picture that this is what mountains look like: high elevation, high relief. When we look at plateaus, plateaus have very high elevation, or they can have very high elevation, but as we can see here, it has a very flat top. Okay, so it looks very flat along the top, and these are plateaus. Now, usually plateaus whenever you see a plateau, usually you will see some sort of riverbank or some sort of stream running through it, cutting a way through the plateau. Most plateaus are usually created by the cutting of water as it actually recedes off the land. The water actually cuts into the land, creating like a wear away, kind of like a knife cutting away into a land, and it actually wears it away, and then it leaves behind what it looks like a plateau. So these are the three different types of landforms that we look at. Now we're going to go back to the next slide and we talk about landform regions. And landform regions are just larger areas of the same landform. So for that, we're going to take a look at this map. And on this map we can see that there are large regions of area with the same topography, or should we say the same landform. And we can see here with this right here, starting from Canada, cutting across the United States and into Mexico, we have what it looks like wrinkles. And these wrinkles in the land, what they are is they're mountain regions. They're mountain areas. So they're very large and very long. So that's considered to be a mountain region. In the middle, as we go eastward, we start to see that the land actually smooths out. The smoothing out of the land is considered to be plains. So this is the plain region, or should we say the interior plain region. Then as we go further east, we are met again with mountains again. So we're actually in between two mountain regions, okay? And these mountain areas, they're again, like I said, these mountain areas are formed by different processes in the land. As we go further east, there is something that's considered to be the coastal plain area. Now, coastal plains kind of blanket the land, kind of like a skirt. So if we go along the edges of any continent and along the edges of the United States, we see the area that kind of blankets the land, and these are called coastal plains. Now, coastal plains are actually lower in elevation than interior plains, and they're also more prone to getting flooded in areas when there's hurricanes hitting the area, or when the sea level of water, when the sea level rises. Those areas are more in danger of being flooded than other areas. And that's the landform regions. The last thing I want to talk to you guys about is going to be about mountain range, mountain systems, and mountain belts. And for this, what we're going to do is we're going to use Google Earth to aid me in the explanation of this. Now, when we look at mountain ranges are a group of mountains that are closely related in shape, structure, and age. One such example is the Bitterroot Mountains, and we're going to look at the Bitterroot Mountains. Now, the Bitterroot Mountains, as we know, are part of a bigger, larger system called the Rocky Mountain system. And then I'm going to show you what a mountain belt looks like. So for that, we're going to go to Google Earth, and in Google Earth, we're going to go to the Bitterroot Mountains. So let's go to the Bitterroot Mountains. And here we have a point of the Bitterroot Mountains. As we can see, they're located in Montana. And as we zoom out from the Bitterroot Mountains, and what I'm looking for is the label for the Bitterroot Range, which is right here. Okay. Now, if I double click on the Bitterroot Range, you're going to see the green outline that covers the Bitterroot Range. And as you can see, it actually covers a bigger area. Now, again, like in the definition, all these mountains are all connected by shape, structure, and age. And the way that scientists usually tell this is by looking at rock samples from different areas within that range, and they do comparisons. Now, the Bitterroot Range is part of a system that comes from the Rocky Mountain system, and as we can see, the Rocky Mountain system is much larger, it covers more area, and there are other ranges within this system, and they're connected in like a long chain. If we zoom out even further, we can see that there's these mountains that actually cover along the west side of the continent. And these mountains are considered to be part of what is called the mountain belt. And the mountain belt, as you can see, stretches over a larger area of land than a mountain system. And mountain systems are composed of mountain ranges. And I believe that's the end of today's notes.